What do you think we're seeing here in the markets? What's going on exactly?
Well, it's driving me absolutely crazy, Nicole. Some of the most wonderful companies, the most innovative companies with solid managements, with double-digit revenue growth, et cetera, being absolutely taken apart on this absurd notion that rates are suddenly going to skyrocket and that inflation is going to do something that we haven't seen in over 12 years, which is to go above 2.5 to 3%. It's just a case of the pendulum swinging too far, as it always does. The good news, I guess, if you want to try to paint it that way, is that it gives an opportunity for thoughtful long-term investors to come in and buy some very good names that are down significantly. Whether that's a Teladoc today down at 170 versus 305 about 6 weeks ago, to on and on. You name it. I could just run you through my portfolio and give you example after example, Nicole.
That's so funny. I see where you're coming from, because you're talking about some great companies that you think are just being beaten down for not the right reasons. I mean, our last guest, Stephen Rasciuto, who's chief economist over at Mizuho, he seemed very positive. He wasn't really worried about inflation and things like that. And where do you think bond yields end up? At the 10-year, for example, is at 1.7 at the end of the year. And how worried are you about a rising bond rate?
Not worried. Before COVID, the 10-year was at 2%. In fact, it was even higher than 2%. And it didn't bother anybody then. But now all of a sudden, because we got so accustomed to rates being down at 0.5%, are you kidding me? Suddenly 170 sounds expensive. That is just the most misplaced, craziest thing I've ever heard. And the fact that you would take so many companies down 30, 40, 50%, because the 10 years at 170 and might go to 2. You know what, Nicole? At 2, it's still too low, and it makes a lot of things still incredibly affordable. I mean, if you look at the 30-year mortgage right now, you could go out and get $1 million worth of mortgage, and it's going to cost you just several $1,000s per month. In fact, after the tax deduction, it costs you about $2,800. $1 million in mortgage only costs you about $2,800 a month after the deduction. And we're complaining about rates being too high. Again, total disconnect. This too shall pass. People are fixated on rates right now, but we're eventually going to come around and realize rates are still really low. Go ahead and buy these great growth companies.
Are you having a hard time finding stocks to pick? I saw a couple of your names that we know well, Teladoc and Workhorse, are on your radar. You like these as stock picks. So I want to know, are you having a hard time finding the ones to pick, or it's just, doing the homework as usual?
It was a lot harder about 2 months ago before the sell-off. And now all of a sudden, I look at what's out there and I see tremendous value. We already mentioned Teladoc, but I will just touch on that very quickly. The original and still the number one, hands down, largest, biggest network of doctors, telemedicine company in the world. If Google really is serious about being in telemedicine, they should buy Teladoc. By the way, the earnings are going to grow. I shouldn't say earnings. The revenues, top line, are just going off company guidance, going to go somewhere between 80 and 90% this year. Imagine a company at this scale growing 80 to 90% and trading at less than half the valuation from just 2 months ago. Yeah, Teladoc is a great example of the future of medicine. You've got a couple other of my names up there. Look at Ballard Power up at the top. That's the the future perhaps of energy and moving people around. Hydrogen fuel cells. They just got a new deal with Canadian Rail up in Canada to power 6 locomotives using hydrogen. And the beauty, Nicole, of using hydrogen is that the only waste that comes out of that is water. That's exciting stuff. Future of mobility. Reinvent Technology Partners, backed by Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, which is going to be the Uber of the sky. It'll cost them $1.2 million to make a drone. They already have a bunch working for the Air Force. A drone that can carry 6 to 8 passengers. And what they're going to start doing is ferrying people from urban centers like New York City and Los Angeles to the local airports. Imagine being able to fly in a drone with 5 other people from the 34th Street heliport to JFK for $60, and it only is going to take about 11 minutes. So you miss all the traffic. Stuff like that's very exciting, Nicole.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I hadn't even heard of that. I know everybody takes Blade, right? That's one of the names that everybody rushes to get on the Blade choppers and all that. This is very interesting. I hadn't heard of reInvent to do this,
but
to take
by the way,
people
sorry
with
to
a
interrupt. To
drone.
be clear, Blade is, a helicopter, a traditional helicopter with all those moving
Right.
parts. And reInvent technology, which is going to become Joby Aviation, it's a drone. So you just have 6 electric motors driving 6 rotors. It's fewer moving parts. They can keep this thing operating 12 hours a day. And by the way, only even when it's taking off, only 75 decibels of sound. Typically, when it's flying, it's 55 decibels. That's like rustling leaves. So, no noise pollution, no air pollution, a wonderful green solution that I think could potentially change the world. And you know what? At $10, come on, it's a call option.